And welcome, boys and girls, to yet another show, the Best Bet Show, the three-family Best Bet Show, and presented by our fine sponsor at Circa Sports. Seize up, bundle giveaway. We'll give you all the details to that in a bit. But first, before we do anything, like, subscribe. It's part of the mandatory viewing procedures of watching our program. Kai McKee and Jim Ritt joining me per usual. Before we get into the house cleaning, guys, any insightful, enlightening takeaways from last night, Mr. McKeon?
The A Sun is wild, Matthew. Underdogs in
Ah,
that
yeah, it is.
tournament. Underdogs are 4-2 straight up. Yes, four underdogs have won. Two favorites have won. EKU goes down to Jacksonville, a team that looked pretty darn good, despite being the 10th seed in the A Sun. They have two really good players in Workman and McCray. North Alabama won on a crazy buzzer beater, a runner from KJ Johnson, I believe, after Lipscomb stormed back and took the lead late.
Former Lipscomb guard KJ
Very
Johnson
ironic.
with the dagger to his old team. Yeah.
On his old home floor. Yikes, the narratives, the narratives. And then Austin P, a comeback and a win in OT. The A-Sun is wild, folks. Again, it's the hardest conference in America to bet. Good luck going forward for the remaining games. Okay, Jim, your turn.
I was at South Florida last night, saw them against Tulane. Kai, the old Tulane bet, got forked. The game was close for 37 minutes, and then South Florida pulled away. They're an interesting team. They do not blow me away by any means, but they're rock solid. They run great stuff. They get it to the right guys like every time down the floor. There's not a lot of like bad player takes corner three. It happened like once last night. Youngblood and Miguel are great. Reed's going to be a killer as he gets older. They're just solid, Matt. They don't beat themselves. I'm okay if they end up making it as an at-large. I'm not sure the numbers will ever back it up. It's going to have to be a full committee eye test thing, but they're fun to watch. So I'm very content if they make it over a piece of crap like Wake Forest that can't win Q3
Mm,
games at home.
wakey. Yeah, you guys need to wake up from that coma that you were in the first half last night. My goodness. I'm not going to go through the traveling thing that they want to probably complain about, but that you lost, you probably should have won that game. But let's go Bulls, our USF Bulls. Proud program. Great AAC day. It's FAU day, for the record. Just a quick reminder. The Owls are in action. Tough one in Denton, Texas. Before we get to the rundown, our fine sponsors at Circa, please go to our handle at 3MW_CBB. You will find conveniently pinned the entry form to sign up. You
And
can win. And
it's linked in the description to the video as well.
God, you're just unreal. So it's basically being thrown at your face. So just don't duck the link that is everywhere around you. You can sign up for a free giveaway. Sorry, our free giveaway, a getaway to Las Vegas, Circa, March 28th through March 31st, the second weekend of March Madness. Free stay at the finest resort in Las Vegas, America's playground. And a limo to and fro airport. Are you kidding me? No, we're not. We're dead serious. So pretty cool. Check it out. Sign up right now. Okay, it's time for the rundown. And we start, Jimbo, with the Big East battle of the year, potentially. UConn goes to Marquette. Unfortunately, this game is dampened by injury, major injury concerns. I'd argue the two biggest injury issues of any team could face this year. Tyler Kolek's officially out tonight. As I put in our chat mob, Oso is on the mend, coming back from a pretty bad flu bug. This spread is +5. Marquette, it should be probably closer to +3 if those guys were for sure. And what's your thought on this handicap?
I'm assuming Iguodala plays. I know he practiced, so I'm guessing he's out there. I think Chase Ross was ill, but still practiced. So it's clearly a little bug going through Marquette at the wrong time. Yeah, I'm just bummed no Kolek because I don't really think Marquette can compete for 40 minutes against this version of UConn without him. They were game for 35 minutes at Creighton, defended really well, used their athleticism, but that doesn't bug UConn in quite the same way. Now, Kai maybe being at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, having a nice home crowd behind him that'll get him to swell. But like small reminder that no Kolek, also no Sean Jones, who would typically be their backup point guard. Now it's like Stevie Mitchell and Ross, and kind of by committee type of thing. Cam Jones doing a little bit of ball handling as well. Oso does help fix that because you can run everything through him. He's a terrific passer. We might really see him featured quite a bit. Try to move Klingon around, move Samson Johnson around away from the rim. I can't get there without Kolek, Kai. Marquette will probably battle, but ultimately get forked against the team that just has superior talent and is healthier right now.
Yeah, I also assume Moso's back, but again, I don't have inside knowledge. Full strength Marquette lost by 28 to UConn. It was a beatdown of epic proportions. UConn just slaughtered them. This UConn team just doesn't have a ton of weaknesses. And though Marquette thrives in that underdog role, I think they do need Kolek in this game. The glass battle is super lopsided. That's Kolek adjacent, obviously. Number one offensive rebounding team in the conference is UConn. The second worst defensive rebounding team is Marquette. Marquette's really only hope in this one is to cause havoc in the backcourt, force turnovers with their pressure, do an old Shaka Smart VCU style of game. I don't think it's going to be enough, though, Matt. I lean towards UConn at 5.5.
I think I do too, just again with the injury concerns that are fairly obvious, but a fun statistical split from an ATS perspective here. Do you want data, Kai? Here's this for some data for you. UConn this year, with 4 days off, they are 8-1 against the number, covering by 7 points a game. With 2 to 3 days off per team rankings, they're only 9-10 against the number. I got to think that coaching staff with ample time to prepare gives them a pretty big edge over any team in the country on top of the talent that they have. Tough-ish turnaround tonight for the Huskies, Sunday to Wednesday. So I do think that could actually work in Marquette's favor despite the injury concerns. Something to note as we go forth. It could be all noise and bogus. Jim, thoughts?
Yeah. Shock as an underdog, typically, have to bring it up.
Yeah, that's the Trump part.
I know he's shorthanded, but
Yeah,
home dog, he's been like 58% in his career. Perhaps that helps them too. Maybe it's just to stay away, Matt. There are some data angles, like you said, that point towards Marquette. So, yeah, stay away.
All right, to Big Ten country we go. Second game on the rundown. Mr. McKeon, Iowa State is hosting BYU. I mean, again, not to beat the same home versus road drum, but with these two teams, it feels prudent to do so. Iowa 14-3, 14-3, covering by an average of a touchdown per game at home this year. BYU, much better at home as well, but we've talked about they've been still feisty on the road, right? I think they've shown some compete more so than we probably thought coming into the year. Spread's been bet up from 6 to 7. Feels high, but probably not with Iowa State involved.
Yeah, and Iowa State is in striking distance of the Big 12 title. It's possible for them to at least get a share, or if craziness happens, win outright. BYU's been hanging out in the upper half of the Big 12. They've been really good in conference play lately. Definitely showing that they belong. To your point, they've won, I believe, 3 Big 12 games outright on the road. I need to check my stats on that one. But this ain't Provo, obviously. They won in Provo by 15 against Iowa State earlier this season. Matt mentioned the ATS splits for the Clones, 14-3 at home against the spread, 17-0 straight up. They haven't lost all year here, but BYU beat KU at the Phog. They can beat anyone, anywhere. Shooting was key in game one. BYU lets them fly, number one three-point attempt rate in the league. That is the one thing Iowa State tends to allow. If you want to pick something on their defensive end they allow, it is a three-point shot, highest three-point attempt rate allowed in the Big 12. But Jim Hilton Magic hits different. I do lean slightly to BYU on the number. It feels a little bit inflated, but clearly there's a reason for that. I'm probably staying away.
Yes, stay away from me too. The first game was the one where Lipsy got banged up, and I think that was part of why BYU extended, was him missing kind of like the final 8 minutes or so. He missed the next game and then came back. Yeah, BYU just feels more comfortable knocking down shots at home. They were able to go into Fog Allen and do it, but that was shorthanded Kansas. Remember, no McCullough out there. I think that is really relevant. I mean, BYU should be able to handle the pressure somewhat. They handle the ball well. They can play through their front court, and with big Ali Khalifa in there, you can kind of invert the floor and take away that ridiculous guard pressure. That's an option for them, but it just feels like everyone succumbs at Hilton Magic, at Hilton Coliseum. Matthew, they might be able to take care of it for 30 minutes, but it just kind of feels like eventually there will be a wave in Iowa State, plenty to play for. So this is a stay away for me through and through.
I did lay with Iowa State, very small. Just tired of betting against Iowa State and getting burned. I was on UCF and Oklahoma the last 2 games, and Iowa State just finds a way to suffocate your offense in key moments and they get enough buckets. Against BYU, I think they can do that again here. This actually price feels pretty cheap if you break it down compared to UCF and OU, but I digress. Let's go to SEC country. South Carolina, Kai, your Gamecocks, the Gamecocks in which you have labeled frauds.
Yeah.
Well, they're hosting Tennessee, who's pretty dang good. Not as good away from home, but pretty impressive what they did at Alabama over the weekend. The Gamecocks, Kai, catching points at home, I should say. Feels like a vintage home dog spot. plus 5.5. I kind of like the Cox. Your take.
Yeah, South Carolina's resume versus metrics might be the biggest gap in the country. They're 24 and 5 with solid wins, but they're number 44 in KenPom. Their resume does not speak to their predictives right now. Tennessee can still get a 1 seed. They're on track to win the SEC with Alabama's loss. Game 1, South Carolina. They won at Tennessee. The Vols, 5 for 21 from deep in that game. South Carolina, 10 for 29. Definitely some shooting split variance, but also South Carolina, you credit their defense. They definitely rose to the occasion. Jim, at the risk of doubting South Carolina again, it does feel like a Tennessee revenge game for me. The spread is a touch high, I think. Tennessee's defense is no joke. They can really lock in. I trust Michi with the ball. I'm not sure I trust many other Gamecocks handling it against Tennessee's defense. Tennessee, plenty of size to throw at Mack and Murray Boyles. Murray Boyles has been excellent lately. Watch that game against, who did they just play? Forgot already.
Florida.
Impressive performance by him. South Carolina obviously mixes it up physically, though. They've proven they can compete clearly with these teams. I think the Vols win. It's a touch high for me on the spread.
Yeah, I think revenge too for Tennessee after they lost at home. But what South Carolina does is they take away that transition. Like they're the slowest, crawlingest team in the league. They've got a real solid transition defense, and that's where Tennessee's like completely transformed themselves this year. Is Connect getting going in the open floor. Ziegler's been a great coordinator in that they get a lot of quick shots, unguarded shots for Connect that way that teams just aren't really ready for, and I think that kind of plays up too. And I think part of that predictive gap, Kai, that you mentioned is Murray Boyles, like wasn't available for the first part of the year with mono. Clearly have been better with him, adjusting for competition via Hoop Explorer. They're 9 points better per 100 possessions with him out there. I don't think using the raw stuff is fair with him because he wasn't there for all the bye games. So I liked using the adjusted ones. But yeah, he's really good. Miles Studi is supposed to give it a go tonight. He's been out, but Lamont Paris saying he's probably going to play. That's another body to throw it at Connect, like big 6'6" wing that can defend, SEC player. Matt Gutt says Tennessee, number to me says South Carolina. So another stay away. Boring. Good job, Jim.
Yeah, I kind of think gut and numbers say Gamecocks. I'm not sure why I haven't played this yet. I just keep staring at it because I'm kind of terrified of Tennessee. But 11-2 as an underdog this year are the Gamecocks. Now, a lot of that was baked into that non-conference run where they were just grossly underpriced. So you kind of have to normalize for what they've really been lately in SEC play as a dog. But I think it's a pretty good spot here, especially at home where they've been really good this year. They can dictate the pace, play to their style more. It's more likely that they own the style as opposed to if they're on the road at Rocky Top. All right, we're going to Big East. Kai, Seton Hall hosting Villanova. This is a battle of the bubble boys. Villanova, certainly right there. Jekyll and Hyde all season, a team I can't seem to solve. If they make shots, they're good. If they don't, they're not. But when Brandon Housen is a fireball, like he's been utilized recently,
he's awesome.
I think Kyle Neptune's starting to figure out where his bread is buttered. But Seton Hall is physical. They're nasty. We know what they can bring to bear. Your thoughts on this handicap? Current line is load screen -1, 1.5 at Circa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
huge game for the tournament. Both teams are on the bubble. Nova is a bit safer right now than Seton Hall. Seton Hall does take a 2-game lead in 4th place of the Big East with a win. Nova would tie for 4th with a win. So some Big East standings scenarios at play as well. Villanova destroyed Seton Hall last month. They won by 26. It was never close. Hall couldn't score. Nova couldn't miss. And the Cats have been hot lately, Matt. Don't know if you realize this. 7-1 against the spread their last 8. They're on fire.
Data stealer, you
Kyle
jerk.
Neptune.
I had that one ready.
Kyle Neptune, revenge tour here. And Seton Hall's gotten killed the last 2 games. At Creighton, at UConn, that's a tough stretch in the schedule. Their offense just isn't sustainable. It's a lot of pick and roll and reliance on Richmond, Dawes, and Davis making tough shots. I think Villanova's perimeter length makes it tougher to make those tough shots. Villanova also competes in the glass. That's usually Seton Hall's advantage. This matchup here is Nova for me, Jim. The spot seems to set up better for Seton Hall. A little bounce back here. I'll probably stay away, but I lean towards Villanova.
I am James Carville and Billy Madison, or in Old School. That was perfect. You literally hit like every bullet point I had written down for this game. Villanova's switching on the perimeter takes away like the big guard advantage. Like Kadari Richmond attacking smaller guards is typically an edge. And if Housen's not on the floor, then it's all big guards. Bamba, Justin Moore, those guys can handle that. I think that's part of why they smoked him in the first game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, pretty heavy matchup edge for Villanova. and it doesn't seem like Neptune, and maybe the players have stopped listening to him and they're just like, oh yeah, we're good. Let's just play basketball. So Matt, I heavy lean Villanova here. Not going to lock it in for a best bet, just because the spot, like Kai said, I think Seton Hall might need it a little more and they're back home, but really, really heavy lean to Nova on the road.
Like if you just zoom out, Nova's last month, they haven't played a bad game except the Connecticut game, which like was, it wasn't really that close ever. And UConn can do that to people. But I keep looking at that UConn game as like, God, I knew Villanova was not for real. But then you zoom out, it's like, they played a lot of really good games lately. Just not a team I think we trust given their track record the last year and a half. I digress. It's chat mob time. Hit me with some questions. I'm ready to fire.
Okay, Matt, I will start with you and your alma mater. Make sure you hit the like button, folks. Thumbs up. Matthew, your Hoosiers. Hoosiers, big old comeback down 15 at Maryland on Sunday. They stay on the road heading to Minnesota, who has been a cover machine, especially at home, 17-2 against the spread, thanks to a buzzer-beating layup on Sunday. Penn State was able to hang inside the number, but Minnesota, your Gophers, Matt, laying 5. I guess not your Gophers. Your Hoosiers getting 5 at Minnesota.
I laid some five currently there at Circa 5.5 everywhere else. If you want to ride with me, Chaboy, and fade my Hoosiers, which I think is a prudent thing to do tonight. It's wild to think that you're laying 5 points with Minnesota against Indiana, like in any season ever. I'm not convinced IU's back, even with Xavier Johnson looking really good the last two. I'm not all the way sold yet. I need to see it tonight, and I think tonight's where we are reminded what this IU team really is. Maybe we get like an ex Jekyll game or Hyde game, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I also kind of like Minnesota as a moneyline parlay piece if you are interested in doing such things. I do think they win. Indiana's second straight road game, I think, is tough for them. Travel, Matt, going from Maryland to Minnesota.
To the Bon.
Yeah, not ideal. All right, Kai, another one from Lante. Charlotte -7.5. He likes. They are coming off the loss to South Florida. Now they're hosting Rice, who is as inconsistent as teams get in the entire country. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, Rice, tough team to figure out. The under was what I like most in this game. It's coming down a little bit. 134.5 is probably good out there still at a couple shops. 134 is pushing it, but the under is the way I lean in this game. No take on the side. Rice, like Jim said, is unpredictable. Charlotte clearly better, but Rice can be hot and cold any given night. Doesn't really matter. They're just inconsistent.
I like Charlotte. Why are we so scared of Rice? Sorry, just to
because every once in a while Rice makes 15 threes and looks like a super well-oiled machine. Maybe shouldn't be scared of that because it's so inconsistent. But all right, Matthew, no, we'll go back to Kai. Extra board Kai, NEC tournament play here. A lot of questions about Lemoyne, the Dolphins hosting their first NEC game. So despite not being eligible for the NCAA tournament, they are in the tournament. The NEC tournament. They're laying 4 to Fairleigh Dickinson here. Both teams won on each other's home floors this year.
Yeah, a good follow on Twitter. Nelson Castillo covers the NEC. He mentioned that the NEC tournament's been quite chalky the last couple of years against the spread and higher seeds moving on, favorites moving on, which is weird because during the season, I'm pretty sure the NEC has one of the worst home court advantages in the country in terms of conferences. I lean towards pretty much every dog in the NEC tournament today. I lean towards Fairleigh Dickinson here. Nothing profound at all. I think Fairleigh Dickinson, though, can compete and win this game.
Yeah, I like them too. Like I said, they just won at Lemoyne late in the year. It's a lot of, not all the guys, but a lot of guys that were on the team last year that won this tournament. I think that experience has a little bit of help benefit here. Matthew, question about TCU West Virginia. I'm going to let you field the side question. Someone asked me about the total. I like the over. I think West Virginia games, especially in the second half, have really exploded scoring wise. TCU wants to get out in transition and run. They've been playing slower in Big 12 play, but I think this is kind of a willing dance partner to get going. So I like the over, Matt. Any take on spread? TCU's laying 4.5 on the road.
I kind of like West Virginia at home. Two teams trending in the wrong direction. I still think we've seen some fight from West Virginia at home, and it's certainly against a team that's a little bit brittle right now. Just not really like offensively, they look really out of sorts, TCU, and defensively, they can't really guard the rim either. I think this is a good home spot, vintage home dog spot for WVU.
All right, Kai, the SEC, Arkansas has taken a little money against LSU at Bud Walton, -3.5 against the Bayou Bengals, who've actually been sneakily playing fairly well.
Yeah, to stay away. Arkansas, how do you trust this team? Initially, my thought was, Arkansas, -3, -3.5. Okay. I buy that against this LSU team. I lean towards Arkansas, but they've proven they can lay eggs at Bud Walton all season. They have nothing to play for, really. They're way out of the tournament picture, obviously. LSU kind of is too, but they're a scrappy team. I really have no way to know, Jim, who covers this game. I just can't.
Yeah, you got 40 minutes of fight from Arkansas on Saturday at Rupp. Do they let down here with nothing to play for? Yeah,
it would be typical.
That concerns me.
Yes.
Yep. Multiple people asking about Loyola Chicago on the road at Davidson. Loyola Chicago needs to win out, and they need Richmond to lose out for the 1 seed in the A10 tournament. However, they can still get a share of it. Matt, I'll go to you there. The Ramblers keep rolling on the road at a little bit shorthanded Davidson. No Skogman for about a month and a half now.
Yeah, they've actually played okay, Davidson. They just had some really dumb, the last 2 games, they've had some kind of late game miscues. Well, sorry, the Richmond game and the UMass game, they both probably could have won those games. They were just outclassed. I kind of think it's their game today. In a close one, I don't really trust the way they've been playing in close games, but I do think this is one that Loyola looks a little bit not hungover, but just not at their A++, which we saw over the weekend against Dayton.
Yeah, they looked awesome in that game, but a little longer layoff. Didn't play since Friday. Okay, you each get a question from the OVC. There are 2 today. Kai, I'll let you pick your poison here. Joe Gunderson asking about both. Do you want SIU Edwardsville against Eastern Illinois, or do you want Southern Indiana against Tennessee State?
Slightly stronger opinion on Edwardsville. I think they cover against Eastern Illinois. Nothing strong, but they have talent still. Remember, this team was pretty darn good last year, and they brought quite a bit of that back this season. They've underachieved for sure. EIU is scrappy as hell, but I think SIU outclasses them today and covers.
All right, Matthew, that means you get our boy Christian Brown and the Tennessee State Tigers laying 3.5 against the Screagles.
No one knows.
Southern Indiana.
He better play. It's the damn tournament. He better play. No, I laid it with Tennessee State. I laid it with SIUE too. I just think both teams, the small favorites, are just better, more talented. The concern with SIUE is Terrence Thompson, pretty massive rim protector. I think he might be out again today. But Tennessee State, I just think pound for pound, more talent. They show up in this game today. So, boom, simple, short and sweet.
All right. Final question here, Kai. Not final question of the day, but final question of this particular chat mob section. Houston laying 8.5 on the road at UCF. Houston's depth really been sapped by injuries. Arsenault got hurt early. JoJo Tugler is out. Ramon Walker is out all for the season. Had to play freshman Cedric Lath 10 minutes. Played a lot smaller with Damian Dunn. Does that catch up to them here on the road at UCF?
I wish Houston and Kelvin Sampson could have one fully healthy year. It's really sad. This is now 3 straight years, I think, that Houston has had injuries, and it's just not fair. This team is national title good every season, and they get hurt right at the end of the year. It's unfortunate. Having said that, I'll step off my soapbox, and I'll lean towards UCF on the spread. 8.5, a lot of points on the road. It's Houston, but still UCF is not incompetent. You mentioned they're a bit shorthanded. Houston, lean towards UCF.
Yeah, I do too.
It's my best bet.
Matthew's
UCF
best
is your best
UCF.
bet, Matthew?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll get to the reasons at the end, or do you want to just
No, you can save it for the end. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll save it
for the end. I considered it as a best bet, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. I also think with a lot more Damian Dunn minutes, Houston could be an over team. We'll see. All right, back to the outline. Remember to hit the like button. Matthew, to SEC country we go.
Yes, we're Texas A&M. How about that team? Kind of fun little year this year under Buzz Williams. They have no idea what running an offense looks like, but they win the extras, as he says. Hasn't translated to the win column this year. They're hosting Mississippi State. Chris Jans and the boys sitting at a 9 seed, according to my bracket matrix. Latest update right here. So they're safe, not safely in, but they're on the right side of in. Obviously, a win at A&M would help, but A&M needs it more. I don't have any handicap in this because I have no idea what Texas A&M is at this point. I don't think Buzz knows what this team is at this point. The market still has faith, though, Kai. They've bet it up to 3 at Circa. A&M slight home favorite, 140.5 the total.
Yeah, A&M can still make the dance. They have the Q1 wins to do it. They have a weird resume with a ton of Q1 wins and also 4 bad losses. It's bizarre. But they have no margin for error right now. Mississippi State pretty safely in the field right now. It would take a lot for them to miss. This game's going to be ugly. It's 2 below average SEC offenses, 2 very physical brands of basketball. Both teams get points off rebounds and free throws. Mississippi State, it feels like they're pretty much built to take away what A&M does offensively. Mississippi State has a little bit more shooting than A&M. I would say a lot more shooting than A&M. But like that, like the other end of the floor, I think A&M kind of takes away what Mississippi State wants to do. So from an efficiency standpoint, it feels like an under. My concern, Jim, is we might see 40-plus free throws in this game. That's always a concern when you're talking unders. Not that either team can shoot free throws. I lean towards A&M getting the win at home here. It's massive for them. I lean towards them stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, the one meeting last year snuck over an ugly 126.5 total, 69-62. So I'm not like super anxious to jump in the under. It does feel like it's going to be a rock fight, a war played in the half court. But does Wade Taylor step up and make big shots like he seems to in all of their biggest games? And then he kind of goes to sleep in the bad losses, as you mentioned. He's almost reflective of their splits. Yeah, Matt, I'm kind of with you. These two teams are hard to figure out, especially Texas A&M, just a massively up and down team. But this is a bigger game, and they've been better against their better competition this year. So perhaps a slight lean to Texas A&M with just fear of betting. You know what? I want Chris Jans to win and just put Texas A&M for sure out of the tournament. I don't want to see them in the dance.
If you look at Mississippi State's results real quick, if you take away like Auburn, Alabama, they beat Auburn, I should say, but Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, the top end, like they've been really good against the middle of the pack, the SEC. I think at this point, you probably would feel safe to categorize A&M as a middle of the pack ball club. So I don't know. Maybe I take it or the Bulldogs here on the road. Got to have it after two losses. I'll dissect that in the back of my mind while Jim gives us his hot take on Butler hosting Xavier. What happened to Butler? Like, we're so hyped about this team just to skid down the stretch. Now, it hasn't been as disastrous as it looks on the surface, but still.
It has.
Xavier, it has been? Man,
yeah.
Okay, I guess you're right. I'm trying to find some,
they're
what I mean? I'm the Butler believer last year and the Butler believer this year. I'm trying to find any ounce of optimism, but it does look like it's a complete implosion. But Xavier on the road, Jim, catching only 3?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of lean Butler here. It's crazy that they won at Marquette and at Creighton. Like just absolutely monster wins at the top of their resume. And it seemed like, okay, when the schedule stiffens in February, they're still going to be fine. And they were not. They were not fine, losing 5 straight, 6 of 7. Got back right against DePaul. But here in the season finale, they do not have a Saturday game. This is it for Butler. I do lean their way. I think you get a little bit stronger effort there from them. Xavier's been so inconsistent, so shaky with the front court injuries that they had since the start of the year. But Kai, the one note I wrote mandatory in all caps here was, for anybody that complains about us not covering the NIT, here's your game. This is an NIT game. So enjoy. I'm taking Butler, but I'm not like a home run about it.
Yeah, Xavier's pretty much dead for the tournament. Butler's hopes all but dead. This game matters for the Big East tournament a little bit. Butler, I think, needs a lot of help if they want to get out of 9th in the Big East. They have to win this game for starters, and then I think Xavier has to lose again, and there's a tiebreaker. I don't know. The point is Butler's basically 9th in the Big East. That's tough, man. Xavier won game 1 by 14. Shooting helped in that one. Hinkle's a great venue. We all know this. I've been there. It's fantastic. I think you guys might have been there as well. But the Dogs are 5-10 against the spread at home this year. That's crazy to me. They've lost 5 Big East games outright at Hinkle. You just can't do that and expect to make the tournament. Both these teams, to me, Matt, they're kind of meh. I do think Butler's better and has more weapons. Xavier's really relying on Oliveri and Claude. I think Usman can kind of be taken away by the Thomas-Green combo. I think Butler's size and strength on the edge, mainly strength, on the wings is a big edge for them against Xavier. So I do lean towards Butler. Nothing strong, though.
And Xavier with Marquette coming to town this weekend. Jim, I like your point about last regular season game for Butler. Like, I gotta think there's a little bit of a motivational, psychological edge, you think? But again, this is the art of handicapping, which in no way can be certain. We're going to Big Ten country, Kai. Michigan State hosting Northwestern. I'll spill my read on this game. It feels like it's Michigan State's game. Northwestern dealing with multiple injuries. They play really, really feisty. They continue to play feisty. Feels like they're kind of due for a clinker. Michigan State looked better against Purdue. I think we all agree with that. At Mackey, laying 9, though, felt a little rich for a team I don't all the way trust yet with the Spartans.
Yeah, what the injuries you mean? Langborg and Barry, the 2 guys.
And Barry's been known.
Nicholson left mid-game last game also.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned South Carolina. I mentioned South Carolina. Northwestern's resume is excellent. but their predicted metrics hold them back. They have great wins. That loss to Chicago State is a debacle, obviously, but other than that, their resume is sparkling clean. These two teams are really close on the S curve when you're looking for bracketing purposes. Michigan State and Northwestern, very close together in terms of seeding. Sparty's probably in, but man, they've lost 3 in a row. They have to stop bleeding at some point. Otherwise, it's going to get pretty dire. Northwestern won this first game by 14 at home. They had that sort of magic in Big Ten play. The road's been a little bit different for them. They've been not too bad against the spread, but not clearly as good as they are at home. But, Jim, I don't see why Northwestern can't compete. I mean, Sparty doesn't scare me. They have great guards, sure, but Bowie's just as good. I think Northwestern's size, maybe if Nicholson's out, that changes things. I think their size, though, combats whatever Sparty has up front. Northwestern's a good ball handling team. They're not going to turn it over. They're a great shooting team. That's where Sparty's kind of vulnerable on the perimeter defensively. And Michigan State doesn't really get to the line much. They're a jump shooting team. Those are the type of teams I think Northwestern has more success against. So I actually lean towards Northwestern at 9.5.
Yeah, Northwestern has had success against Michigan State lately. I think Michigan State fans would tell you that. They've covered 3 straight. They've covered 5 of 7. Chris Collins has gotten that team very, very feisty. And 9.5, I think, is going to feel like a bit of a mountain in this game, considering the pace it will likely be played at. Given Northwestern's injuries, I think they're going to crawl every single possession up the court. Yeah. Michigan State pushes a little bit. They like kind of that first initial break and a little bit of secondary break, but then they will take it out and milk it for 20 to 25 seconds. I think that's advantageous to the dog. Matt, we've seen them just be feisty everywhere. It's not a team that gets blown out very frequently. I'm just a little scared by the injuries. The spot for Michigan State, they've lost 2 straight home games, 3 straight overall. Maybe you get a better performance. This is another one that perhaps a money line parlay. I may go with a Michigan State Minnesota money line parlay. It's like minus 120 at the book I looked at. Intrigued by that at the very minimum. Journalism Matumbo, not as important here because Michigan State has horrific centers. But it's weird. And Northwestern loses a guy and then just like some random guy off the bench steps up and is competent and makes plays. That Justin Mullins game a couple games back was absurd. So Matt, yeah, not willing to lay it against a feisty team like Michigan State or I like Northwestern, given their recent track record, but I do think Sparty wins.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't trust, like I said, don't trust Sparty enough. The way that Iowa had success against Northwestern was actually inside, like even with Nicholson in there. And then after he went out, they had some success inside, but Michigan State, that's clearly where their issues have been all year. They haven't got consistent paint production. So not exactly poised to exploit that. Nothing else on that one. We head to the game of the night in Denton, Texas at the Super Pit, where winning is really hard. And the Mean Green are awfully mean when they're healthy, and they are healthy now, Jim. But my Owls are up to the task. Everyone's off the bandwagon. The defense is awful. They shouldn't be in the tournament. They were a fraud, never worthy of a top 10 ranking. I'm just stuffing all of the ammo in my back pocket when they come for your throats in March with a deep tournament run. Anyway, Jim, short road favorite tonight. Owls, what are your thoughts?
They suck on the road. They have all year. They're 2-7 against the spread. One cover was by a point at Rice, and one was in overtime at Wichita State, where they won by 13 after being 7.5-point favorites. Not encouraging performances. Now, to cover here, they basically only have to win, given the low spread. But yeah, North Texas healthier. Like you said, Aaron Scott is a massive, massive mismatch here. FAU just can't really handle those versatile four-men that can attack inside, attack outside. They don't have a four-man. They play 4 guards at all times by design. It helps the offense, but they can't really guard on the other end. Kai, I kind of lean North Texas here at the Super Pit, just with some of the mismatches. FAU's down play on the road. Ryan Greenlee has been a complete zero. Matt pointed that out in our chat. He was already not my favorite Owl just because of his inconsistent, streaky play, but he's been horrific. Okay. Zero points in 4 of the last 5 games for Greenlee. That's not good.
That's not a lot.
Yeah. No, it's not a lot. So yeah, big lean to North Texas for me here, Kai.
Yeah, and North Texas has been really good at home. 8-4 against the spread. They did lose a head scratcher to UTSA, which was weird.
Yeah.
Mean Green have fallen down the standings of the American, but they're still very dangerous. They obviously scrap and claw every single possession. Jason Edwards is a game breaker. You haven't watched him play. He's exciting as heck, and he can hit 10 threes in a game if he wants to. No Rondell Walker last game for North Texas. Not sure if that matters completely, but still worthy of a note. They don't need a really deep bench.
Majeski said best on-ball defender. So
Rondo
I don't
Walker.
know, maybe.
Interesting. Could be.
Yeah.
He'd know better than I would. FAU clearly better, but will they play with their food again? They've played with their food all conference season. Or Texas not a team you want to play around with. We know FAU won't turn it over. They have a rebounding edge offensively. They're deep, a lot of weapons. They take away the three ball well. That's really where North Texas surprisingly does most of their damage with Edwards, Scott, with Reuben Jones. It's threes and no boards, and it's getting loose balls, everything in between. That's what they do. I think FAU can kind of stop that, but can North Texas drag them into the mud? It's kind of tough to do, but they did it in game one. They nearly won at FAU. I think it's really close, Matt. At 1.5, 2, I actually lean towards FAU eking it out.
Boy.
But I am nervous for the Owls here.
Yeah, remember FAU's got that big day with Memphis this weekend. And Memphis is off all week. So kind of a really brutal 2-game finish to FAU's schedule. They got to go 1-1 in these, I think, to feel safe about their selection odds. An 0-2 would basically spell a little bit of you got to probably make a decent run there in the AAC tournament. I think my Owls get it done tonight. I do. I think they make enough shots, and the crawling pace at which North Texas plays actually could work into FAU's favor. I think their defense is a little bit exploited when you can spread them out and attack gaps. If it gets kind of into like a back and forth, nip and tuck, possession, shot making game, I give the Owls a slight edge there. But again, tough spot for all the reasons you guys mentioned. It's Chat Mob, round 2.
Let's do it. Matt, you got the first A10 question. So Kai, we go to you for the other one at the very top of the league. Richmond looking to clinch a share of the title and the 1 seed tonight. All they have to do is win. They're laying 5.5 at home against the team of variance, which is the St. Joe's Hawks.
Yeah, I like St. Joe's here. 5.5, 6. I'm considering it for my best bet, but I'm gonna not do it. I'm gonna go with Joe's though, Jim. 5.5 in this game.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right side. Just Richmond off a big rivalry win, comeback on Saturday night. I could see a little bit of a slight letdown, even for a very veteran team. Matt, to the NEC from Pat T. Wagner at Sacred Heart. Wagner's 7-man rotation now in the postseason here. They actually battled Sacred Heart a couple times this year. I watched one of the games, and Joey Riley just got super, super hot in the second half and buried my poor Seahawks and the future bet I had on them. Right now, we are looking at a spread of Sacred Heart minus 5.5 at Circa. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they took some money. It opened for it now up to 5.5. I think these are the two best teams in the NEC. At least I thought that coming into the year. Apologies to Merrimack. And I was proven wrong pretty quickly. So I kind of feel like it's an interesting matchup where two of my preseason priors are pinned against each other. I don't trust Wagner, Jim. We've waxed or bemoaned of how annoying they are in late game closeouts, but I think in a low possession, low total game, I might take the 5 here. 132 the total.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Wagner unders have been pretty solid. Postseason could exacerbate that even further. Sacred Heart's just an over team. That's the one worry I have there. Kai, also on the extra board from Pat in the Big South. Radford minus 5 against USC Upstate. This game is at High Point, which USC Upstate actually won at earlier in the season. Perhaps that's an edge. The Highlanders laying 5, though, as the 9 seed over the 8 seed.
I think Radford wins because this team is a lot better than their seed in the Big South tournament. But man, I don't feel good about laying 5 points. Dickerson's not a bad coach over there at Upstate. They made that deep run last year in this tournament. I think there's something real to that. I would lean towards Upstate on the number. I think Radford wins.
Matthew in the SEC, Big Blue Nation, Kentucky, fresh off another 100-point scorching offensive performance, laying 17.5 against Vandy. Is this too many points for a team that has had a lot of good efforts, big games, and they have at Tennessee on the horizon? Is this maybe a little bit of a sandwich spot for the Wildcats?
Yes, it does. Market bet this down 2 points pretty quickly, I think, for the right reason. Vandy won at Arkansas. They played Florida fairly competitively. Their last 2 road games, just lost at home to 14 or by 14 to LSU. I mean, Vandy might be done, but I think this is an awfully dead spot for Kentucky where they kind of just lollygag for this one and coast to a 12-point victory.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Just not as dialed in of a performance in this one. Kai, in the ACC, questions about Boston College at Miami, Florida. The Canes have taken money because Jimmy Larinaga and announced by John Rothstein have said that Wooga Poplar and Nigel Pack are both playing. Canes laying 6.5 now at Circa. Your thoughts?
Yeah, clearly huge. I still kind of lean BC. I just don't like this Miami team that much. I know they've been hurt all year. Clearly that matters quite a bit, but 6.5 points, lean towards BC ever so slightly. Nothing strong.
Yeah, especially if it's moved. I kind of like Miami, but maybe even an over. Now that they've got all their scorers back, and
Yeah,
I don't think those
over.
guys are good defenders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matthew from Blue Chicken, the
Hmm.
Southland. Incarnate Word getting 14 and a half at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Injury questions on the Incarnate side with Sky Wicks only playing 7 minutes last game in his return from an injury. Do the Islanders smash Incarnate Word here?
I don't know. I don't think so, but they smash a lot of teams. It's the Jim Shaw thing, former assistant to Steve Lutz, went out West Kentucky. Same thing happened last year. They turned into a monster in conference play. That's what Corpus Christi has done. This conference play, I still feel like 14 is too many, but I've been wrong about this team every game. So take what I say with a grain of salt.
And the last chat question of the day, Kai, New Mexico laying 18 and a half at the Pit against Fresno State.
Perfect.
Lobos have been reeling. They need wins. Can they take down the Bulldogs by a lot like they need to?
18's enormous. Would lean Fresno on the spread. Over is my best bet. Over 152 is the best bet for Kai today in this game.
Do we save an explanation for a little bit, or do you want to
There's no
hit him with the
explanation.
data?
There's no
explanation. Love it. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's Kai's best bet. There you go, people. That's the last one in the chat. Matt, let's go to best bets. You already gave yours away, but you owe us a soliloquy, a monologue on why that is your best bet.
Yes, night up, UCF. Houston has not beaten a team by more than 7 points away from home all year. The only time they did was at BYU, and that game was basically tied with 2 minutes to go. They've been good away from home. They've gotten a lot of good wins, but they've all been super nip and tuck. And I think this one is super nip and tuck, especially with a UCF team that's healthier than they have been. Their roster rotation continuity looks a lot better. CJ Walker is playing pretty well. They got their guards somewhat sorted. Only concern is that Houston has largely owned UCF in their American Conference days. So it's not like this is like a new, unfamiliar place that Houston's going to. I still think UCF matches up pretty well, especially with the Houston team with the Tugler injury. May not be as dominant and as locked in tonight as they try and get to the finish line, given all the equity they've already built up, locked into a 1 seed. I like UCF plus 8.5. Boom.
That a boy.
Kai.
Bangs gavel. There you go. I am going to go with the Northwestern Michigan State under as my best bet. Again, I think the injuries for Northwestern influence them to keep it slow. Michigan State, and they do push a little bit sometimes, but I think against that Northwestern discipline defense might struggle a little bit. 3 of the last 4 between the two have gone over, so perhaps a little bit of a data angle against it there, but this is very strong gut for me, and just thinking about the matchup. I hope Nicholson plays because he's very important to that defense for Northwestern, but this is definitely a pace under as well. I think we see 61 possessions or something like that. Number is 135 and a half at Circa. All right. That is it. Matthew, take us home.
And plug the
Thank you for
Circa
joining us.
giveaway, please.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe on your way out the door, and then sign up if you have not already for the Circa giveaway contest that is pinned conveniently at our Twitter handle and in the show link below. Again, Sweet 16, Elite 8. Maybe the most underrated part of the tournament, some might say. Put you up at Circuit for a whole weekend, free of charge, and limo to and fro. That concludes our program for today. Back same time tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Until that time, may the 3-point variance be ever in your favor.
Podcast at 1 o'clock. See you there. Bye.